Hello everyone, Happy New Year everyone. It's the 5th of January 2025. I'm Gary Waterman. I'm a former UK police constable of 18 years service, and I am almost certain I'm being guided by our creator, certainly since 2022 when I started to acquire irrefutable evidence of international government fraud. The evidence is now overwhelming. All government organisations, including 650 members of parliament and international organisations, are also now refusing to even acknowledge the evidence, which is irrefutable, verifiable and corroborative, and has been going on for absolutely decades and deliberately facilitates the most awful crimes against most of humanity, but also against the children, the most innocent of all. It must stop. And most of humanity has been deceived. Even those of you that have been given guarantees or promises in relation to this, I can assure you, you will also be victimized. This is absolutely evil, what has been happening. We must unite whilst we can. No matter what faith group you're part of, or if you don't have any faith, no matter what ethnicity, what culture, where you're from, what background, we must unite whilst we can. The consequences of not doing so and this system continuing is absolutely dire. And they will enslave humanity at the very least into a full digital currency system and something similar to 15-minute cities. It's very clear the evidence suggests that they have been using humanity as cattle, experimenting on the masses, using MK Ultra, which includes pharmaceuticals, subliminal messages through the entertainment industry, and radiation emitted from their technology. It will get much worse, okay, if we do not stop this system now. So I urge you all, whilst you still can, to get behind and take part in sustained international working strikes and the withholding of all taxes starting on Wednesday the 15th of January 2025. We really must get behind this together. And it's hoped that by doing so, we will unite as a family, which we are. Okay, we are all brothers and sisters of the human race, and we must unite as such. It's very clear that they have deliberately labelled certain groups and individuals to create the risk of division and conflict between us, when in fact, as I've said, we are all brothers and sisters and should unite together whilst we can on this planet. Now, it's hoped that this action, the sustained strike, okay, so not one day, we need to do this as long as it takes to compel the right things to happen. And that needs to be an acknowledgement, at least, first of all, by the government and their organisations of what they've been part of, followed by the implementation of certain measures that, based on the evidence that has now been acquired, at the very least needs to take place. Those measures are as follows, and I'm going to read from them so I don't forget. Number one, there must be a transparent taxation system at the source of payments where the masses can log on and audit government bank accounts themselves by viewing the periodic collective tax contributions and seeing the referenced expenditures as to where that money is being spent. I believe this needs to be also including the ability to view the nation's collective available excess funds that should be maintained through a fluctuating taxation request system. They've never done this before and have had the ability to falsify figures with the help of the banks to defraud and exploit millions. The second thing there must be is the full verification of anyone and any addresses involved in new and existing company incorporations. This will ensure that there is full accountability and liability to minimise the chance of those companies being involved in criminal activity. This has deliberately been avoided by our governments by the system of fraud that they have had in place and the non-verification of company incorporations. We must ensure that changes. There needs to be strict legislation with severe punishment to prevent anyone in positions of authority from making decisions for their own or affiliated reasons. The people must be sure that decisions by their leaders are being made for the benefit of the masses and the environment and not a select few, which is clearly what's been happening. There needs to be an assurance that there will be no further move to full digital currency control and to ensure that there is the ability to peacefully protest against any leadership's corrupt policies by withholding tax contributions and still having the ability to survive by making other forms of simple payments in the event of them freezing any digital funds. The biggest threat, or one of the biggest threats we now face, is the enslavement into this criminal system by full digital currency control. It's very clear that's what they're expediting to try and happen. This all started with me with an investigation in relation to a real estate company. Now, there must be a transparent financial system for the management of real estate to prevent leaseholders and anyone else in relation to that real estate from being exploited and victimized and defrauded in relation to it. This should include the ability to view the collective income of service charge contributions and again reference expenditure as to how that money is being spent, as well as the availability of a suitably signed management agreement or contract if there is management in place regarding that real estate, to ensure that there is some sort of agreed and accountable and liable management. This will also assist in preventing exploitation. There also needs to be the ability for leaseholders to obtain quotations as a comparison between those obtained by the management company and anyone else potentially previously involved in this fraud. That is in relation to services towards that real estate. It's very clear that there has been a collaboration between different sectors within society, for example, insurance companies, directors, management companies, and those that provide the service to therefore obtain exploitative quotations in relation to the management of that building. I established this very quickly by obtaining independent quotations that were very, very similar and comparative, that were ridiculously cheaper than what was being obtained by those involved in the fraud. There must be the staged resignation of all politicians and their advisors and their legal teams. There must be the staged resignation of chief of police, police and crime commissioners, and heads of government organisations who have been in a position to address this criminal system since it was identified and have not already resigned. Many people have resigned as a result of this exposure, as well as many other things, clearly signifying it is the truth. The public will never trust these individuals again, those who have not tried their best to expose this and change it. There must be the removal of any harmful technology. This includes any communication systems that is harmful through electromagnetic radiation or similar, where there is not full accountability and liability in place. This technology is being used to harm both physically and psychologically, as well as suppress humanity, and it must stop. It's very clear that this system of fraud is deliberately facilitating using that technology in such a way against humanity. It cannot continue. There must be suitable compensation for the people who have been defrauded by this system, but in particular, because obviously many people have been defrauded, but in particular those who have struggled the most as a result of it. There needs to be a new legal system in place, but at the very least there needs to be a public trial using the current system or a new legal system for those that have been instrumental in allowing this system of crime and fraud and its sinister activities to have continued for so long. The people will demand that there are consequences. There must be an assurance that there will be no further sexualization of children as part of any educational curriculum, as recently suggested and being implemented by the World Health Organization and United Nations. Both of those organizations are heavily implicated and responsible for this international government fraud and are facilitating the crimes. It's very clear that this system they have in place deliberately facilitates the exploitation and victimization and the most awful crimes against children. We must safeguard the children, the most innocent of all. And finally, and these are just at the very least these things need to happen, there needs to be an assurance that there will be no further move to the reduction of the age of sexual consent. I suspect that will be one of the first things that they will try and do once they have full enslavement of humanity through the full digital currency control and the 15-minute cities that they plan. So those, at the very least, I believe, based on the evidence, need to be implemented as soon as possible. And I honestly believe that a sustained international strike and withholding of taxes can be used to A, prompt a reaction, and B, ensure that measures such as that are implemented, at least on a transitional basis, to change the course and trajectory of humanity before it is too late. We are running out of time, everybody. I can't emphasize this enough. You really need to get behind this. Go and discuss this with your colleagues, with your employer, with any employees you have, with your friends and family. Discuss the evidence. Look at it. It's now irrefutable. It's overwhelming. They know it. This is why they're ignoring all of the evidence from one of their previous colleagues who was not involved in this, okay? They know it's over. You had a HMRC company dissolve, a very important company that's linked to the head of HMRC, which is to do with tax. If you're in the UK, you'll know that, Revenue and Customs, and that dissolved in January 2024. They know it is over, and their silence suggests they are biding their time for something very sinister against the public. So you must make a stand for your children. We are all part of the human race, and we are brothers and sisters, and we must unite. So go and communicate with your fellow mankind, no matter what culture they're from. Go and speak to them, no matter what ethnicity, okay, what faith group they're part of. Let's start communicating. Let's break bread. Let's share ideas, share and expose this evidence so we can unite together. Please, I ask you all, do this now before it is too late. Thank you very much for listening, and may the Father be with us in all of this, because we are in very difficult times, but incredibly enlightening times, and it is a privilege to be living through this. Take care.